July 30th, 2013. The humid summer air presses heavily against the brick exterior of the Rowan County Sheriff's Office in North Carolina. Inside, the air conditioning hums a steady metallic drone as a young man named Jamie Parsons sits across from seasoned investigators. He has just walked through the heavy glass doors following a bitter domestic dispute with his parents. But the complaint he brings carries a far darker weight than a standard family argument. With a shaking voice, Jamie drops a revelation that instantly chills the room, stating that his 15-year-old adopted sister Erica has vanished. He leans forward and tells the stunned detectives that no one in their crowded household has laid eyes on the teenager since November of 2011, back when she was just 13 years old. Law enforcement immediately recognizes the terrifying reality of the situation, realizing a highly vulnerable child has been completely erased from existence without a single school. Medical or community record raising an alarm. The tension deepens when initial database queries indicate that her adoptive parents have been continuously cashing her monthly government benefit checks for every single month she has been gone. The town of Salisbury, North Carolina, rests quietly along the interstate characterized by wide avenues, fading historic brick storefronts, and sprawling residential neighborhoods shadowed by ancient oak trees. It is the kind of working-class community where neighbors wave from porches, local churches anchor the weekend routines, and the rhythmic drone of cicadas fills the thick evening air. In this seemingly idyllic setting, a young girl named Erica Parsons began a life marked by profound vulnerability. Born in 1998 to a teenage mother who lacked the resources to provide a stable home, Erica spent her earliest days navigating an uncertain world. The state social services system stepped in, seeking a permanent and loving environment for the fragile child. In the year 2000, a lifeline appeared when relatives Casey and Sandy Parsons officially adopted her. They brought the toddler into their single-story home on Miller Chapel Road, a property flanked by dense patches of tall pine trees and a long, unpaved driveway. To the outside observers in Salisbury, the Parsons represented the very best of community values. They appeared as a charitable, blended family generously, opening their doors to a relative's child who desperately needed stability and love. Beneath the polished public facade, Erica faced severe personal hurdles that required immense patience and specialized attention. She suffered from significant developmental delays and a documented hearing loss, conditions that made navigating the world a daunting task for the young girl. Her profound needs created a direct reliance on state-provided adoption subsidies and specialized medical assistance programs. Ensuring a steady stream of government funding entered the Parsons household. Erica was a slight, quiet child who sought comfort in small, quiet moments, yet her daily reality became increasingly disconnected from the outside world. Neighbors walking their dogs past the Miller Chapel Road property rarely saw her playing in the yard with the other children. When locals did catch a fleeting glimpse of the girl, they assumed her disability simply kept her safely indoors, shielded from the harsh summer sun. This social isolation became absolute when Casey and Sandy formally pulled Erica out of the public school system under the guise of a dedicated homeschooling arrangement. The heavy wooden front door of the Parsons home effectively became an impenetrable barrier, cutting off the vulnerable child from mandated reporters, teachers, and compassionate peers. Her universe shrank to the darkened hallways and locked rooms of her adoptive parents' house. Erica deserved a childhood filled with specialized learning, gentle encouragement, and the simple joys of growing up surrounded by a protective community. Instead, her life became a masterclass in schematic erasure, hidden entirely behind drawn living room blinds and the hum of a household that functioned without her active participation. While other children in Salisbury attended Friday night football games and rode bicycles down the sunlit pavements, Erica remained a ghost in her own residence. Her adoptive parents maintained an active presence in local circles. smiling at grocery store checkouts and projecting the image of exhausted but dedicated caregivers. They collected her monthly checks with clockwork precision, utilizing the funds meant to enrich her life to support their own standard of living. The state paperwork remained flawless, the benefit renewals were always signed on time, and the local authorities had zero reason to suspect any foul play. The absolute normalization of her absence demonstrates a terrifying truth about how easily a marginalized child can slip through the cracks of a rigid bureaucratic system. Erica was not just failed by the people who promised to protect her, but also by a fragmented safety net that prioritized perfectly filled-out forms over physical welfare checks. The carefully constructed illusion collapses in late July of 2013, triggered entirely by Jamie Parsons and his desperate walk into the sheriff's precinct. Armed with this chilling new intelligence, a team of seasoned detectives drives out to the edge of Salisbury, navigating the winding, tree-lined path of Miller Chapel Road. The police cruisers crunch over the loose gravel of the driveway, stopping just short of the weathered front porch where children's toys lie scattered across the dry grass. Officers step out into the sweltering heat, climb the wooden steps, and knock firmly on the heavy front door, demanding to see 15-year-old Erica. Casey and Sandy Parsons answer the door with remarkable composure, offering polite smiles and projecting an aura of complete cooperation. When questioned about the whereabouts of their adopted daughter, the couple does not hesitate to stutter or display a single ounce of panic. They invite the investigators inside the dimly lit living room, sitting down on the couch to confidently deliver a meticulously prepared narrative. Casey looks the lead detective directly in the eyes and claims they sent the teenager to live with her biological grandmother to help manage her behavioral issues. The sheer confidence of their delivery initially gives the investigators pause, as the parents appear completely unbothered by the sudden police presence in their home. Sandy Parsons nods along with his wife, providing law enforcement with specific names and geographical details to back up their story. They introduce the name Irene Goodman, affectionately referring to her as Nan, and state unequivocally that this woman resides in Asheville, North Carolina. According to the parents, Irene Goodman is a capable, loving relative who is currently providing a stable, disciplined environment for Erica in the western part of the state. The detectives meticulously record the details in their notepads, taking down the name, the supposed location, and the timeline of the transfer. Back at the Rowan County Sheriff's Office, a massive interstate inquiry launches immediately, with analysts running the provided information through extensive local, state, and federal databases. Investigators contact their counterparts in Asheville, requesting local patrols to scour residential registries, property deeds, and utility records for any sign of Irene Goodman. Days stretch into nights as analysts cross-reference tax documents and vital statistics, searching for any digital footprint linking the grandmother to the missing teenager. The exalted background check should have quickly produced an address, a phone number, or at least a driver's license for the woman entrusted with a child's care. Instead, the blinking cursors on the precinct computers yield nothing but dead ends and glaring discrepancies. The investigation hits a disturbing, impenetrable wall when the grim truth about the biological family tree finally surfaces from the state archives. Detectives pull the actual birth and death certificates related to Erica's biological lineage, seeking a definitive answer regarding her surviving relatives. The official state records reveal that Erica's actual biological grandmother passed away in the year 2005, a full 6 years before the teenager supposedly went to live with her. Furthermore, the name Irene Goodman proves to be a complete phantom, a fictional character entirely fabricated to pacify curious relatives and social workers. There is no woman by that name living in Asheville, no forwarding address for the teenager, and absolutely zero evidence that Erica ever left Rowan County alive. Law enforcement instantly recognizes the terrifying magnitude of the deception, confirming that the parents' story is an elaborate, calculated smokescreen designed to hide a tragedy. The realization washes over the investigative team that they are no longer conducting a routine runaway search, but rather unraveling a sophisticated concealment. Casey and Sandy Parsons did not just lose track of their vulnerable daughter. They meticulously engineered a ghost story to keep the government checks arriving on time. The missing persons case rapidly transforms into a high-stakes criminal investigation, setting the stage for a descent into absolute domestic horror. In early August of 2013, the investigation pivots from a frantic local search to a meticulous forensic accounting operation. Detectives secure subpoenas for the financial records of Casey and Sandy Parsons, bringing stacks of bank statements into the Rowan County Sheriff's Office for an exhaustive audit. Investigators map out the flow of state funds, discovering a rigid bureaucratic system operating on automatic renewals and superficial compliance. The paper trail reveals that long after Erica vanished from the Miller Chapel Road property, her adoptive parents continued signing and submitting the required paperwork to keep her government benefits active. The audit uncovers over $12,000 in fraudulently collected adoption assistance, alongside continuous claims for Medicaid and food assistance. The system designed to protect the vulnerable child possessed a catastrophic loophole, requiring only a mailed signature rather than a physical welfare check to release the funds. Detectives sit at their desks, matching the dates on the cash checks against the timeline provided by the remaining children in the household. The financial data paints a chilling portrait of calculated greed, proving the couple monetized the absence of their daughter without raising a single red flag within the Department of Social Services. While financial analysts trace the stolen government funds, lead investigators bring the remaining Parsons children into the precinct interview rooms to dismantle the wall of domestic secrecy. Placed in a safe environment away from their parents, Jamie and his siblings begin detailing a harrowing reality of hidden domestic torment that occurred just feet away from the quiet suburban street. Detectives listen in stunned silence as the children describe the severe physical deprivation Erica endured inside the single-story home. The siblings explain that Casey and Sandy routinely confined the fragile teenager to a small, dark hallway closet, utilizing the confined space as a primary method of psychological destruction. The interviews reveal that the parents restricted her access to the family kitchen, forcing the girl to consume canned dog food while the rest of the household ate normal meals. Investigators document specific acts of physical cruelty, including a twisted disciplinary tactic where the parents would bend the teenager's fingers backward to the point of structural failure as a so-called friendly reminder of their absolute authority. Erica lived in a constant state of fear, systematically isolated from any potential rescue and stripped of her fundamental human dignity. The officers meticulously record these witness accounts, recognizing that the missing teenager did not run away, but rather existed as a captive inside an environment engineered to break her spirit. Armed with these devastating witness statements, law enforcement executes a comprehensive search warrant at the Miller Chapel Road property in mid-August of 2013. Crime scene technicians fan out across the yard, measuring distances between the house and the surrounding outbuildings, while specialized canine units scour the dense patches of pine trees flanking the unpaved driveway. The physical search yields a disturbing lack of answers, providing zero forensic material to indicate a specific final event within the residence. Recognizing the tightening net of the police investigation, Casey and Sandy Parsons adopt a strategy of arrogant public defiance, attempting to manipulate the media narrative. They book a flight to Los Angeles, California, stepping onto the national television stage of the Dr. Phil show to project an image of persecuted innocence. Under the bright studio lights, The couple confidently repeats their fabricated story about the phantom grandmother, displaying a chilling lack of emotion regarding their missing child. During the broadcast, they submit to polygraph examinations, failing the tests spectacularly while continuing to cast blame on the very investigators trying to locate Erica. The national television appearance backfires completely, cementing their guilt in the court of public opinion. Yet it leaves detectives back in North Carolina staring at a maddening lack of physical evidence. The criminal investigation hits a daunting legal barrier as the calendar turns toward the end of 2013. North Carolina state prosecutors explain to the detectives that filing charges for a fatal act remains an immense legal risk without a physical location or tangible evidence of a crime scene. To remove the dangerous predators from the community, local authorities forge a strategic alliance with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, shifting their immediate focus from the disappearance to the documented financial crimes. Federal agents spend thousands of hours throughout 2014 building an impenetrable paper case, securing grand jury subpoenas for tax returns, bank fraud, and identity theft. The Joint Task Force presents a sprawling, multi-jurisdictional indictment, utilizing the very checks the couple cashed to trap them in a federal web. By focusing on the mail fraud and government theft, the investigative team bypasses the state requirement for physical evidence of a missing person. Authorities orchestrate a coordinated strike, arresting Casey and Sandy on numerous federal charges and bringing an immediate end to their public charade. The meticulous financial detective work successfully neutralizes the immediate threat, transferring the couple from their comfortable home into holding cells to await a federal trial. The strategic legal gamble culminates inside a federal courthouse in the year 2015, where prosecutors lay out the overwhelming evidence of systemic fraud. The jury delivers swift convictions, resulting in a 10-year federal prison sentence for Casey Parsons and an 8-year sentence for her husband, Sandy. Federal marshals transport the couple to separate penitentiaries, placing Sandy behind the heavy steel doors of a secure facility hundreds of miles away from the Salisbury community. Despite the successful convictions, the primary detectives in Roane County refuse to close the missing persons file, initiating a grueling campaign of psychological pressure. Investigators repeatedly request visitation access, driving across state lines to sit across from Sandy Parsons in sterile cinder block interview rooms. The detectives utilize the rigid structure of the federal prison system to their advantage, leveraging Sandy's isolation and declining health to chip away at his arrogant facade. During these tense, face-to-face encounters, the investigators lay out the witness testimonies of the siblings, refusing to let the father forget the nightmare he orchestrated. They execute a masterclass in slow-burn interrogation, maintaining a constant presence in his life behind bars, waiting for the inevitable moment when the burden of his secret finally fractures his resolve. The relentless psychological pressure orchestrated by Roane County detectives finally fractures the legal stalemate in late September of the year 2016. The calendar marks nearly 5 agonizing years since 13-year-old Erica Parsons was last seen alive by anyone outside her adoptive family. Sandy Parsons sits confined within the rigid, monotonous environment of a federal penitentiary, his arrogant defiance slowly eroding under the crushing weight of an 8-year sentence. The quiet, suburban father who once confidently lied under the bright studio lights of national television finally reaches his breaking point. Recognizing that the dedicated investigators will never abandon their pursuit of the missing teenager, he summons his legal counsel to negotiate a devastating concession. He strikes a formal proffer agreement with the state prosecution, offering to surrender the most guarded secret of his life in exchange for specialized considerations regarding his federal incarceration. He agrees to physically guide law enforcement to the exact geographical location where he concealed his adopted daughter. The sheer magnitude of this breakthrough sends a massive shockwave through the Joint Investigative Task Force. Detectives immediately activate a complex multi-agency logistical operation designed to safely transport a convicted federal inmate across state jurisdictions. They secure heavily armored transport vehicles, assemble a massive convoy of forensic specialists, and prepare to follow a predator directly toward the darkest consequence of his domestic terror. The investigation shifts abruptly from abstract financial ledgers and missing persons flyers to a grim physical reality. The heavily guarded police convoy departs the jurisdiction of North Carolina, traveling south into the expansive rural stretches of Chesterfield County, South Carolina. The geography of the journey shifts dramatically from paved suburban avenues to desolate, winding dirt roads flanked by impenetrable walls of ancient, towering pine trees. Sandy Parsons sits shackled in the back of a secure law enforcement vehicle, staring out through the reinforced glass and issuing specific, turn-by-turn navigational commands to the federal agents driving the lead car. The procession navigates deep into an isolated, heavily wooded acreage, situated far removed from the prying eyes of neighbors or the steady hum of passing highway traffic. The physical isolation of this specific site demonstrates a profound level of premeditation by the adoptive parents. It proves beyond any doubt that the concealment was a highly calculated geographical choice, rather than a panicked, split-second mistake made in the dead of night. The convoy finally halts near a specific clearing off a rugged logging trail, where the dense tree canopy entirely blocks the harsh afternoon sun. Long, dark shadows stretch over a thick bed of dry pine needles and loose, sandy topsoil. The terrain is flat, silent, and completely unremarkable to the untrained eye of a passing hiker. Law enforcement establishes a massive, multi-tiered perimeter, unspooling bright, yellow crime scene tape between the thick tree trunks to secure the desolate patch of earth. Following the direct, chilling instructions provided by Sandy, forensic evidence recovery teams focus their immediate attention on a shallow, subtle depression concealed beneath the natural debris of the forest floor. The lead investigators explicitly abandoned the use of heavy excavation machinery, prioritizing the preservation of delicate physical evidence. Highly trained crime scene technicians drop to their knees, utilizing hand trowels, wooden scrapers, and fine bristled brushes to meticulously peel back the layers of topsoil. The exhaustive excavation process stretches for agonizing hours in the humid southern heat, systematically transforming a quiet patch of South Carolina woods into an active, heavily documented crime scene. The careful digging eventually yields a rigid, unnatural shape buried just 3 feet below the surface. Investigators slowly unearth a large, heavy plastic storage tote, a completely mundane household object weaponized for a horrific purpose. Inside the container, technicians discover heavy-duty black garbage bags wrapped tightly around human remains. As the forensic team gently breaches the physical seal of the plastic bags, a strong, distinct chemical odor permeates the heavy air. The unmistakable scent of concentrated bleach rises from the damp earth. The presence of this harsh cleaning agent reveals a terrifying level of post-event calculation. The parents poured the toxic chemical directly over the child to mask the scent of decomposition and defeat the highly sensitive noses of search dogs. The predator was not a random stranger hiding in the woods. He was the man who collected her adoption checks every single month. The medical examiner takes immediate custody of the plastic tote, transferring the tragic discovery from the remote woodlands to a sterile, brightly lit forensic anthropology laboratory back in North Carolina. The subsequent examination requires immense scientific precision to reconstruct a life of unseen torment from the recovered skeletal evidence. A highly specialized forensic anthropologist conducts a meticulous bone-by-bone assessment, cross-referencing historical dental records to officially confirm the undeniable identity of Erica Parsons. The final medical report paints a devastating picture of prolonged, severe physical cruelty that occurred behind the locked doors of the family home. The examination reveals catastrophic structural damage across her fragile frame. Healing fractures mark her delicate ribs. Unhealed breaks trace along her nasal bridge. Extreme trauma fractures her lower jaw. Significant structural injuries compromise the integrity of her legs. The medical evidence confirms a continuous cycle of severe physical attacks coupled with absolute medical neglect. No doctors were called. No casts were set. No mercy was given. The timeline of the bone remodeling proves the child endured agonizing pain for months. She suffered in total silence. She met a permanent, lonely end. The arrogant facade of a loving, dedicated family shatters completely under the uncompromising light of forensic science. The bones speak the terrifying truth, armed with the undeniable physical evidence recovered from the South Carolina woods. North Carolina state prosecutors initiate the final phase of their pursuit for total justice. In February of the year 2018, the Rowan County District Attorney presents the devastating autopsy findings and the meticulously documented financial fraud to a grand jury. The panel returns a comprehensive indictment, officially charging both Casey and Sandy Parsons with the ultimate crime regarding the death of their adopted daughter. The strategic brilliance of the initial federal financial prosecution now pays massive dividends for the state investigators. Because the couple is already serving lengthy sentences in federal penitentiaries for mail fraud, they possess absolutely zero leverage, no mobility, and no capacity to flee the jurisdiction. Law enforcement transfers the parents from their federal cells into state custody to face the new catastrophic charges. The charging documents explicitly detail the horrifying timeline of abuse, the calculated concealment of the remains, and the systemic obstruction of justice that defined the investigation. The arrogant couple, who once sat on a television stage and confidently challenged the police to find any evidence of wrongdoing, now sit trapped inside a courtroom facing an insurmountable mountain of forensic proof. Faced with the overwhelming scientific findings of the medical examiner and the damning cooperation of her own husband, Casey Parsons realizes that a highly publicized trial will only result in a swift and devastating jury verdict. In August of the year 2019, she stands before a Superior Court judge and formally pleads guilty to first-degree murder. The heavy silence in the courtroom amplifies the gravity of her admission, providing the community with its first undeniable confirmation of her monstrous actions. The presiding judge delivers the ultimate state-sanctioned sentencing Casey to life in prison without the possibility of parole, ensuring she will never again breathe free air or harm another vulnerable child. Just 4 months later, in December of the year 2019, Sandy Parsons enters the courtroom to accept the consequences of his own active participation in the nightmare. He pleads guilty to second-degree murder, felony child abuse, concealment of a death, and felony obstruction of justice. The court sentences him to an additional 33 to 43 years in state prison, a term designed to begin only after the completion of his existing federal sentence. The swift legal resolutions bring an end to a sprawling multi-year saga of deception, permanently removing two highly dangerous predators from society and validating the relentless, exhausting work of the Rowan County detectives. The tragic erasure of Erica Parsons serves as a devastating catalyst for sweeping legislative and procedural reviews within the North Carolina Department of Social Services. The case exposes a catastrophic, fatal flaw in the intersection of state-funded adoption subsidies and unregulated educational exemptions. Lawmakers and child advocates meticulously analyzed the exact bureaucratic loopholes that allowed Casey and Sandy to exploit the homeschooling classification. The parents utilized the educational exemption not to teach, but to effectively build an impenetrable fortress around their abuse, cutting off the mandatory reporting mechanism designed to protect at-risk youth. In response, local and state agencies implement far stricter compliance protocols, demanding physical welfare checks and verified medical documentation for children receiving specialized government assistance. The system that blindly mailed thousands of dollars to a house hiding a shallow grave undergoes a profound reckoning to ensure no other disabled child vanishes behind a forged signature. The remaining Parsons children, whose brave testimonies ultimately dismantled their parents' empire of lies, are permanently secured in safe, supportive environments to heal from the trauma. The absolute triumph of justice inside the courtroom cannot erase the horrors inflicted inside the house on Miller Chapel Road. However, the meticulous detective work ensures that Erica Parsons is no longer a forgotten statistic or a ghost in a fraudulent ledger. Her story stands as a permanent, powerful testament to the necessity of vigilance, demanding that society look closer when the most vulnerable among us suddenly disappear into the shadows.